Now we start off with season 2 of How I Met Your Mother. Starting off with Where Were We? Where were we? Basically a pre-episode that basically lives off what happened afterwards. Basically, Ted and Robin end up getting together, and then Marshall and Lily end up leaving Marshall, and basically shows Marshall's depression and what he goes through, which despite how that feels like Josh just him feeling depressed and upset. You actually do feel bad for Marshall in this. You actually, despite some of his rational decisions, you do end up feeling bad for Marshall. You end up feeling much for him. It also gets funny the last one getting where it's like, Dad, we just get to the point. You feel like we're talking about a year. I promise you, kids, this will be a point. Can I go to the bathroom at least? No. Anyway, that is just hilarious. Even the kids are like, just like, it's been like a year. Like, yeah. But basically, we see everyone just trying to cheer up Marshall, trying to do best with Marshall feel better, and also find out more. We also know that Robin as a big thing for guns in this episode, and then we basically see Marshall flipping out of his something between Lily, and then him trying to do it, and then Ted is like, "Cuss you up!" And then we see Mo and Ted is calls pathetic, which is also great acting from Josh Radnor in that moment, by the way. And in the end, Marshall finally gets better, and then we see Lily want to go in the bar, but decided not to. But yeah, definitely honestly, in my opinion, a fantastic improvement. Like, season 2 is, in my opinion, an improvement over season 1 in a lot of ways. And this is definitely a fantastic premiere episode. Not sure where it's gonna, like I said, I'm not sure where it's gonna rank by the end of it, but it is definitely a strong opening. There's some great character writing and some pretty touching moments, but also having that great humorous moments as well. And now we get to the Scorpion and the Toe, where basically we see Marshall still feeling better, and Bonnie's like, "Hey, I want her to be my wingman and everything," and then Lily ends reuniting with like Robin and Ted, thinking, "Oh my God, my summer was amazing in San Francisco. Oh my God, people love my art, meant some fascinating individuals and everything." And then Ron basically bet on the fact that Lily might not actually be happy, and at first they may think Lily is happy, but it turns out she is, and then she misses Marshall, and then the experience was not good at all as she expected. Like, she pretty much like screwed up everything. He also gets a fun moment between Barney and Marshall, where basically Marshall tries to actually get go, and Barney is Barney here, and he ends up being a jackass. But it makes it some pretty hilarious moments, especially fighting and having the cab, which is pretty hilarious. And then Marshall and the reunited, but it's like, it's been rough getting over you, so I don't think we can be together yet. Which, it's actually something you don't really see much sitcoms, actually, but trying to be realistic and ends with a fun moment, basically like, Lily's like, "Hey, can I is there anything I can make up for you? It would be appreciated." I was like, "Yeah, but you can never ask me why." And then he basically just like, he basically just like, "You gave me chlamydia, you jerk. You gave us as a chlamydia, you slut." Like, that moment's always hilarious. But yeah, I put it like on probably the last episode, honestly. I'm not sure if I say it's better than the last one, but I would probably say yes, honestly. Again, hilarious, charming, emotional, and some pretty good acting moments. Now, next episode we have is Brunch, where basically Marshall and still trying to figure out how to be like normal towards each other after being in love for so long, and I don't know what happened. And then we end up meeting Ted's parents, and it turns out they actually got divorced actually after kissing for many years, and then Robin started to figure out how to connect with them, and honestly, and it leads to some first shenanigans, honestly. Like, I would probably put in the weakest one so far, but it's still a great episode with some really heartwarming and great moments. Next we have Ted Mosby, Architect. Basically, Ted and Robin end up having their first fight. Basically, Ted job's boring and everything. And they try to find like, "Hey, this is what happened." And then I find out how they get upset that Robin doesn't like feel the drains, which is like, I don't know, that line always so hilarious. And then Barney basically tries to test out saying that Architect can actually be sexy and actually could get people in bed and everything, but that kind of leads to Robin thinking that Ted's cheating on her and everything, leads to her going psychotic and crazy. And you get some pretty hilarious moments on with that, and it's definitely one of the funnier episodes of the season of the show for sure. So I think because he's hilarious, having some nice heartwarming moments with Ted, Robin, and it's definitely going top of the list. World's Greatest Couple is probably, I'm not sure how people talk much about this episode, but I actually really enjoyed this one, honestly. Hell, this episode might actually be I'm also putting on top of the list, actually, because of the notice, consistently hilarious episode. It's basically Lily ends up moving into Barney's apartment, and some incidents with the apartment itself. At first, but Barney's like happy with it. But then he goes, "Hey, Lily could play my wife on, so I can have him change one night stands." Which inspires Lily like Lace too, which makes some pretty hilarious moments. And actually, Lily and Barney actually bonding and then they end up being in bed, but not actually like being in bed actually. And you know, it's a good fun side plot with Marshall like going to brunch with a guy and it leads to some pretty hilarious shenanigans. So yeah, one of the funnier episodes of the show as well, also going on top of the list. Aldrin Judge is basically in the 10th episode where Ted gets a job at Ted's firm. It leads to some fun back and forth. You also get Bryan Cranston appearing in here as well, which was a pretty cool actor. Seeing Bryan Cranston is like a fantastic actor in general. And a funny with basically Bryan tries to sleep and Marshall's law professor to get a better grade. Again, another funny episode. I don't have much to say about the episode as a whole, but it's another fun episode. I say going around the middle of the list. And then we have Swally, which basically Marshall ends up going on a date with this girl from the coffee shop. Then Ted and Barney think she has the crazy eyes. So he tries to stop them, and they end up talking and about to kiss, and I was like, stop! Which leads to shenanigans and everything, and then in the end, Marshall and Lily end up coming back together, which is a very sweet moment. Again, with this moment, basically, the coffee shop show ends up basically misspelling Barney's name as Swirly, and they end up like calling him Swirly. You have this fun moment at the end. Well, I'll say the joke did get a bit a lot to a bit. The ending of it basically kind of like reference Cheers. They even played the song where everybody knows your name actually. In the end, the moment, which is pretty hilarious. So it's more of a mind flight, but this is still a great episode that has some hilarious moments and some horrible ones that. So yeah, going up behind the list. And now we get to Atlantic City, which basically see Marshall Lily getting engaged again, and they basically trying to actually get married in Vegas because Lily doesn't want to have the audacity to meet Marshall's family after what happened. Which you can totally get where she's coming from, honestly. At least it's some more hilarious moments of them trying to get them ready for that moment, and then they're not getting licensed, and then they actually find out ship captain to get them married. And you get this awesome, not hilarious moment, basically, Bonnie tries to get money for them, and then we have no idea what's going on, and Marshall, for some reason, understands it, and they end up getting the money for ship captain, and in the end, they're like, yeah, we won't have that wedding, honestly. Which again, it gives some pretty hilarious moments. Again, this is an episode I've always enjoyed rewatching, so yeah, thankfully, it holds up pretty well still. It's another great episode. Every show always has that one episode where, no matter what, everyone can agree is probably one of the best episodes of the entire show itself. Honestly, like any best episode list, whether or not it's your number one or not, it's definitely always going to be on that list. And Slapback is that episode. Like, this is definitely one of the episodes that, in my opinion, is in the being the best episode of the entire show. Like I said, I don't really I think this was my favorite episode for a long time, but I think there are a few that are in contention when we get to later seasons, but Slapback is definitely going to be super high on the list at the end of it, for sure. It's an episode that perfectly expresses the greatness of this show, whether it be from the humor or the character moments. And it basically starts from Robin basically not wanting to go to malls, because she really doesn't like malls, but can't say why, and they want to figure the secret. Brian thinking maybe related to pornography for some reason, and Marshall thinking she might be married, and then at least a lot of shenanigans where basically Robin does say she's married to Ted, and then Marshall searches that basically she actually is not married, but apparently not good at parking either, leads to a fight between the both of them, and this episode also has two of the most iconic gags in the entire show. The slap bet, in which basically the bet will win it because that's one as hard as they can, with Lily being the slapback commissioner, which is also a hilarious touch. This touch, and at least the latest moments in this episode, where basically they figure out who's going to be, and then Barney gets slapped Marshall 3 times, and all that stuff, and then we also find out the second most iconic gag, or one of the most iconic stories in the entire show, that Robin used to be a Canadian pop star. Which are actually a few episodes that also hit more at that storyline of what she went through as a pop star, which again is, those episodes are always very hilarious in my opinion and very charming, and this one's no exception. Actually, another reaction to everybody when the song's called Let's Go to the Mall, which is also a banger of a song, by the way. Let's go to the mall today. And then we get that kind of basically when wanting to slap Marshall without permission. Having Marty basically agree to You have 10 slaps or having 5 slaps that can go from any time to forever. Which for some reason it goes to 5 to eternity thing, which is interesting, but it made for some pretty hilarious moments in later seasons with the slap. Like, so yeah. Again, it's consistently hilarious, charming, but with some added heart as well. So yeah, this is definitely topping the season 2 for sure. Not sure if it's going to top the entire series. We'll see how it goes, but yeah, Slapbat is incredible. And then we get to Sting Off Sam, another fantastic episode where we get the introduction of James, Barney's black brother, played by James Brady, Wayne Brady. Sorry. We get James, Barney's black brother, played by Wayne Brady, who is an incredibly charismatic, talented actor. And James has always been one of my favorite supporting characters in this show, and he makes a great introduction, having great interaction with all the cast members, having a great chemistry with Barney throughout the show, throughout the series, and also this season's episode as well, displaying their back and forth, how much they really do care about each other, especially when James revealed that he's actually engaged and that Barney's not taking it very well. And this is a very nice and heartwarming moment, especially towards the end, involving them also having a kid as well, which is, again, this is one more heartwarming episodes of the entire series, while having that great humor that you expect from a show like this. And then we get to another great episode in How Lily Stole Christmas, and we basically see that Ted basically still holding some grudge about what happened to Lily, and even calling her a Grinch, which honestly, if you can really tell, it's one of the days where you can tell, like, you know, what Ted actually said to Lily was that she was kind of a Grinch, like, I'm not actually going to say it, but I'm pretty sure you guys can tell what word that Ted actually meant. Honestly, as he was trying to help Marshall from his breakup and everything, and then basically, like, see, again, him saying, I gotta get over that Grinch, you gotta get over that Grinch, and then basically she ends up leaving, and meant to be a part of it, so still really great acting moments as well. And then there when Ted actually gets the easy back oven that she always wanted. And long story short, they end up reuniting in Ted's family house, and they have kids saying Grinch, which again, if you know actually Grinch was, it makes it even more hilarious. So yeah, another episode is going high up on the list. Now, I don't have much to say about first time in New York. Basically, Robin tries to tell Ted that he loves him and everything, and she's struggling to do so. Lucy's mom and sister ends up coming visit, played by Lucy Hale. She might have sex with her boyfriend. Robin's like very hesitant about that for good reason. And he gets some pretty hilarious moments with future Ted, and then Ted having a flashback to convince her sister not to do so. So yeah. Don't have much to say about the actual episode itself, but it's still a fun one. And I'll say they were calm, honestly, where basically Ted tries to fire his boss and everything, tries to fire someone, but stuff always keeps happening that prevents him from actually getting fired. After the person gets fired is Bryan Cranston, by the way, which makes some very hilarious moments, especially with him when all the incidents that happen, and then he ends up having a heart attack, and the Ted ends up firing him, and he seems like a jerk at that, which you can have to laugh at that moment. And then Barney tries to ask Lloyd to paint a new picture of him, which again makes some pretty hilarious moments of Marshall. So yeah, I would say I put it above the last one. Now we have Monday Night Football, which basically Ted and his friends end up deciding to go to a funeral because at the end of missing the Super Bowl, and the shenanigans that ensue that basically what we see everyone basically trying to avoid everything, trying to avoid knowing what happens and who gets spoiled, but Barney James also won out the score. Ted's had these weird things to basically go to a sports bar and get food for it. Marshall basically had this little kid basically trick Marshall into doing stuff so he wouldn't be able to score, and then Robin began using because that's also pretty tough as well. And at least it's some hilarious shenanigans. So, at least there's some hilarious shenanigans. And why is Barney enjoying episodes more from this season? This is the episode I always enjoy coming back to. Now we get to another good episode. Like season 2 season 2 is one of those seasons where I don't think there's like a true bad episode. Like there might be some aspects of the season that might be irritating, which we'll get to in a couple episodes later on, but I don't think it's a true bad episode, honestly. But Lucky Penny is another good one. And it's basically Ted trying to go to a job interview, ends up missing one flight, and then trying to figure like who fault it was, and like what happened that's caused him to be late in the first place, and what whole ended up being a penny. And you also see some fun moves from Marshall trying to train for the marathon in general, and some nice heartwarming messaging and ones by the end of it. So yeah, it's a pretty solid episode with some pretty good humor and a pretty nice message to it. So So it was definitely a very weird episode, honestly, where basically Ron basically gives Ted like all the hate for having stuff that apparently was one of ex-girlfriends. It turns out that ended up being most of his stuff. And it turns out Ron does anything with dogs, and then he tries to get Ron to get rid of her dogs, which is like one of the worst things that Ted's done in the show, which is one of the changes I mentioned earlier. And leads to a lot back and forth, honestly, and leads to decide to randomly move in together. But yeah, but this episode's definitely going to a lot lower ends by having some pretty funny moments, especially the moment basically Glory ends up having a play, and then Bonnie misses it sucks, honestly. He tries to put on a terrible play and everything, and then Marshall getting the second slap. That's two. Which is one of the funniest moments in the show, honestly, but that's where Ted does kind of break down a little bit, but it's still a solid episode. Out of Richie Fierro, it's another very homely episode that does display a lot of the best elements of How I Met Your Mother. It was because about Marshall's Fierro dying basically short of the 200,000 mile mark. And just a lot of favorite memories, honestly. We get some pretty fun moments, and we get like fun moment basically. I think this is probably what I'm going to 500 miles probably got really popular because that'll be the only song that Ted Marshall would sing in the car and they have a road trip and they have the song on. So he's like, hey, I love this song, I'm sick of this song. I love this song, I'm sick of it. I hate it, I love it. I hate it, I love it. Which, again, it's pretty hilarious. Yeah, I think every time you think of I'm going to be 500 miles by the Proclaimers, we always think of How Much You Mother. Okay, yeah, it's pretty hilarious. And all that stuff. And you get some moments with Barney and also having some fun home ones as well. So yeah, this episode was actually going pretty high, actually. And now we basically get the episode of Ted and Robin end up moving. And again, it's not upside, I don't really have too much to say about it, honestly. It's basically Ted and Robin basically deciding to move in, figure out what they're going to give up, what they're going to do, this and that, honestly. And you get some pretty fun lunch and little moments where they barely can't seem to live out Ted. That's, the latest moment they tried to be in the house naked, but it's like, guess that's what you hoping it would be. So yeah, and in the end, they decided not to do it together in the end. It also gets a fun one to turn to Barney as well, with Barney trying to stop everything. Again, don't really have much to say about this episode, so it's going like towards the bottom, but still a good episode. Okay, we have 4 more episodes to go for season 2, but I hope you all have been enjoying the rankings so far. Definitely let me know your thoughts on all of the episodes down below in the comment section. Let me know what are your favorites, at least favorite for season 2. Let me know your rankings so far. Hope you all have been enjoying this ranking series so far. But anyways, let's get to Bachelor Party, where it's by Marshall saying he doesn't want a stripper. Barney doesn't anyway, thinking that he cares about himself. It's to a point where he decides to not invite him to the wedding. Then we have this one of the most Halloween things that Barney has ever done, where basically he's kind of the reason that Lily decided to come back on and say, like, because Barney insisted on it, saying that they love them together, they deserve each other. But again, that moment makes this episode still pretty good. Like, there's still some fun moments before them, but that moment, chef's kiss. And then we get to Showdown, a pretty hilarious episode in which we're basically, we see Barney basically thinking that Bob Barker is his father. Which again is pretty insane that he had to, obviously he's not his father, obviously, but it's like, yeah. And his mind is like, hey, Bob Barker's my father and everything. Like, which again, so it's the solution that, Barney might actually know his father, honestly, and then kind of hints at who Barney is as a person, honestly, and then starts the storyline him basically, like, which is something we're going to get into more in later seasons, but we get this, like, fun Price is Right section, which makes us some pretty hilarious and charming moments throughout. Even getting lots of surprises to Marshall and Lily. And he also gets some fun Marshall and Lily moments in general, so yeah, Showdown, another exceptional episode. And then we get to Something Borrow. Basically, a 2-part episode basically just finding Marshall's real whereas basically, everything going wrong will go wrong kind of things what happens in one episodes, where a lot of things keep going wrong, and honestly, Lily tries to stay calm, and then she's exploding, at least a lot of insane moments that happen, at least to Barney of all people, end up saving the day by getting them married. Which again, it's a very heartwarming scene seeing Marshall alone, which I don't know if I put them on my favorite TV couples list, which is the list I did like last Valentine's Day. I think it was this Valentine's Day or last Valentine's Day I did that list. You guys want to check that out. But this month applies like why Marshall is such a very beloved couple and has so many sweet moments in general. Like, I don't know how the episode itself is going to rank on the actual overall list, but that moment is just amazing. And now we made it to Something Blue. Basically, the culmination of the Ted and Robin romance. Now, in the game, we kind of expect that Ted and Robin weren't going to last forever, because they know that Robin's pretty cool that Robin isn't the mom like it made clear that Robin is not the mother. They made that perfectly clear in the first episode. They made that perfectly clear. But it doesn't make the moment any less emotional. Where Martin's like, hey, what? They what? He like really wants to know what's going on, and then turns out they did one year ago, and then Robin overreacted when she thought there was a ring in her champagne, like really overreacts. And then they decide their future together. One of the guys recognizes as stealing their blue French horn from the first episode. And at least they're like figuring out life together, and we get a lot of constant back and forth and everything, and at least to them basically say, I think we should break up. We both want different things, like, what's it really ever gonna last? They don't just say that, but that's kind of basically what it implies, honestly, that they actually did break up. And it's actually very emotional, very touching, with the acting from both actors are pretty strong in this episode as well. Even Barney was like sad to see them break up, honestly, which again, it's Barney, but yeah. But yeah, definitely a perfect way to end it. Like last season, a perfect way to end the season. And well, that's the end of season 2, which honestly, it might be being the best season of the show, honestly. Like given the worst episode of this season, that's why I still think it's damn good, honestly. Like, yeah, Matchmaker was the one like shoot out last season, but this season had a lot more strong episodes. Again, my favorite one being maybe my favorite episode, even the top 3 or top 5 episodes, like should be like top tier episodes of the entire show, in my opinion. Again, in fact, they really got the groove finally of the show, group of the characters, and well, of course, some elements might feel relevant of Friends, if you really think about it. They did a good job making still feel more stand out from Friends and having some pretty charming moments. Some moments actually feel more emotional than they. Some might say those moments here are probably more emotional and more, sure than it was ever done in Friends, honestly. And you can't about smile and laugh throughout so many moments throughout this season. So yeah, season 2, it's definitely in the bay of being the best season. Again, I might plan on doing a season ranking at the end of the ranking, so I'll let you guys know what it ends up being. But yeah, definitely expect season 2 to definitely be in the bay because there were so many great episodes, so many great moments in this season, and a lot of moments, some of the best elements of this show.